guys.
Hey, guys.
Welcome to this week's episode of the 13th Floor Podcast. I'm Cece.
I'm Alex.
I'm James.
And today we're talking about fake food.
It ain't real.
It ain't real, man. It's not real. They got us eating all this fake stuff these days.
But it's just as good as the real stuff.
That's what they say.
I swear. My study that I paid for with my company and will profit for me says that yes, the fake stuff's probably even better than the real stuff.
Man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. May I make a fat stack of cash if I say that? Yeah, maybe. But that's okay.
This topic's near and dear to my heart. I've actually been looking forward to this episode for a while because I love talking about food. My favorite TV channel is the Food Network.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so this is right up my alley. James.
I like to eat food.
James, do you like to eat food?
I do.
Thank God. James, how you been?
Yeah, been okay. Thought Puer died the other day. Well, it's funny. Like, it just shows how chill she is. Like, grandma stills are super chill. Most of them, they'll run and hide if you get too close. I open the lid, no movement. I filled the water dish up, which was like a millimeter from them. No movement. I got worried, and I tapped them with a paintbrush. No movement. I tapped them harder with the paintbrush. No movement. I tried to pick up their what I thought was dead body, and then just very gently, they just went, just swiped at my hand like, that's enough. And so, yeah, they were just that calm that they just didn't care about all the stuff I was doing.
Puer. How dare she?
I was waiting in the story to see if you administered CPR on a spider and resuscitated it.
Would you actually do that, James?
I mean, if it worked, but it wouldn't.
Do some chest compressions.
They don't have an esophagus like we do.
He puts his mouth on its butt and breathes.
Was Puer molting?
No, just that chill. That was all it was.
Lazy.
By the way, the butt thing reminds me, this is totally off topic, but I just think it's fascinating. You know the expression blowing smoke,
Yeah.
Won't finish it because we're a kid show. That's actually how they treated drowning victims before they discovered CPR. I'm not kidding. They would take tobacco pipes and they would blow smoke.
Oh.
Yeah.
James, that's upsetting.
You know this. You know what's really upsetting is it must have worked at one point, and that's why they kept doing it.
Yeah, probably. I mean, that's either that or some really sick person came up with it as their excuse. I was trying to save this person.
Some guy's into it, and he's like,
God.
yeah. Oh, I swear.
Stop it, you guys. Let's not go down that path. You know what path I do want to go down, though, is an icebreaker path. James, what's our icebreaker today?
If you had to blow smoke.
Alex, no, you be quiet.
Oh, snap. Oh, gosh. Oh, we've had a lot of food icebreakers, but I don't think we've actually talked about, like, Desert Island, like the one food that if you had to eat it every day, like you would eat, or, like you had to eat. So, like, let's go with that. Like, if you had to eat one food, what would it be?
What food would you blow smoke?
Alex, what food?
On a desert island?
Yeah, you can only have one food for the rest of your life.
I mean, it's not literally a desert island scenario, just one food the rest of your life.
Yeah.
All right. Do I pick, like, a type of food, and then, like, all right, so say I pick Alfredo. Do I have variations of Alfredo, or is it the same Alfredo every day?
Can he eat it with penne, or can he eat it with linguine?
All right, I'll just go ahead and tell you what I'm thinking. I'm thinking pizza. Can I have different types of pizza, or do I just have to get the same pizza every day?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Or if I decide pepperoni pizza, can I get it from different places?
Well, what I'm thinking is you could just get the works and then pick off what you don't want, and then you have variation.
Well, that was going to be the hack, because I was going to get something that I could get a lot. I was going to over order on it, and then, if I want to mix it up, I just pick some stuff off.
Wow. That's, that's an answer.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I was leaning too.
Okay.
Because then you get, no, listen, you get your carb. So I think of like, my mind immediately gravitates towards sweet things, but I feel like I would get really sick of sweet things.
You'd get really sick, because that's all you're eating.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want that to happen to myself. So, I don't know. I feel like it's boring, but pizza would be the only thing I could really think of.
Yeah. All right,
I feel like James is going to have a really interesting answer.
I'm heavily biased towards pizza, but I think I would just go for, because it's very diverse, just cheese. I just eat cheese forever.
Oh, wow. James would both have gas and be unable to poop.
That is true.
For the rest of his life.
Oh, dear Lord. Well, you know what? That's a great visual. I think that it's time for us to go right on into our topic.
You won't need to blow smoke up there. Just say that.
Yeah. You know what?
Oh, goodness.
Alex, I've had enough of the smoke. Almost.
You're about to get the smoke.
What are you talking about today?
We're talking about fake food.
He's having a coughing fit. It's been
Quick, grab the pipe.
it's been a long time since that's happened.
It's all that smoke in my lungs.
Oh my gosh.
All right. We're talking about rubber fruits. Here I am. I was having a little difficulty with this topic, so I want to give a shout out to my lovely wife, bearer of 3 children, Cece, for discovering this topic for me. Because quite frankly, I have never heard of this. And so it was quite the adventure to go down this rabbit hole of fake fruit. Now, I hadn't heard anything about it, but when I finally saw these videos that were viral on TikTok, they were quite surreal and absolutely disgusting. So for those of you that don't know, this summer there was a substantial number of fruits, not just like one, not just watermelon, but guacamole. There was a blueberry one I saw. I'm not so sure about that one. That one's a little suspect for me,
Do you mean avocado?
I did.
I was waiting.
Not
I
just
was
the
like,
guacamole.
yep.
No, it only actually got really weird when it was turned into guacamole.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, avocados. I'm sorry. I don't ever see them in their native form.
He eats fruit once in a blue moon, so.
I like fruit. I don't eat vegetables very often, but I like vegetables too. Leave me alone. It's not my fault that they're not freshly made at home anymore.
Hey, you're going to get yourself smoked.
And bananas were another instance that was
Disturbing.
appalling. Yeah, disturbing, appalling, just all around gross. So, and it's not, the thing about this fruit is like, everybody's had bad fruit. We all pictured that kind of mealy, you bite into an apple expecting it to be crisp, and it's like mealy, and the flavor's not quite there. That's not what we're talking about here. This is things ratcheted up to 10 or 11 to where you're like, there's some people need to be answering some questions. Like, one of the videos had a banana that the person just couldn't rip in half until they had to twist it and pull it, and then the way they're having to pull it was just so odd, and when it finally did tear, it was bizarre.
It was gross.
And there's other videos of the watermelon. It's like not impossible to rip, but very difficult. Things that are just usually very breakable,
Not
and
breakable.
easily cut, just having remarkable difficulty. So, there's a lot of explanations out there for what maybe happened over the summer to cause this. Now, I tried to go with least likely to most likely. I don't know how successful it was when I went through it, because I kept ping-ponging back and forth between all of them. But the the first excuse and the lamest one that I saw is that it's just a natural variation of fruit. It's just it's just a different type of fruit. People are just judging it because it's different, guys.
No,
because it's different.
Don't be so bigoted just because your avocados are basically plastic.
Exactly. The Mexicans eat these impossible eat bananas all the time. No, it's BS. There's no such thing as a banana that's like that. No. No, the hardest banana I've ever seen came from candy. What do you think I was going to say?
I didn't know where you were going with that.
I was doing runts. I couldn't think of the name. That's why there was that pregnant pause there. I was trying to think about runts.
Ay, caramba.
Anybody remember runts?
I used to
One
love
of the
runts.
best candies out there, period. Let's just go ahead and leave it there. I don't think they make it anymore.
They do. I ate one yesterday.
Well,
Runts
they make them individually now, but I don't think they have like a one package, do they?
I'm sure they do. But you get it at Cracker Barrel.
What were you going to say, James? I want to hear your runts introspection.
I know they're still around. By the way, Cracker Barrel's totally rebranded, and it's weird.
What do you
You guys
mean?
heard about that? They're not kitschy anymore. They've totally rebranded to like change their market. It's nothing like it used to be.
Oh, it's been the same over the one we're at, but maybe that's changing soon.
Yeah, maybe it started in Lexington, Kentucky.
We'll let you know because that's Gwen's favorite restaurant. So
Yeah.
we're there frequently.
Yeah, it's not the old Kentucky store or old country store anymore. Now it's like I don't know, hipstery.
Oh, really?
Hipster Barrel, yeah.
Ours is still very country store.
Yeah, I bought Valerie's Thanksgiving dress from Cracker Barrel, actually. She looked adorable.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very cute. And Kentucky Southern. All right. So, about the natural variation, I think it's a complete BS excuse. It's a terrible one. The other one is post-harvest treatment. So, we know a lot of these things get picked and they're treated with chemicals a lot of times. And there's even, temperature differences as they're being transported. They can go through quite different temperature changes while on the way to the store. So I could see something like that affecting some of the mealiness of it. However, I don't quite believe that the texture is going to this type of level because of like some of these after treatments. For the most part, another one is growing conditions that could easily crop up. That could cause the crops to suffer and become like this. I think, something like an unusual weather condition, it could severely throw some of the growth and consistency of the fruit off. I mean, a very quick cold snap coming through can stunt the growth of the fruit very easily.
Yeah.
I think it's a likely explanation, but still, the texture isn't quite what I would expect from a fruit that went through this. I would think of something that's unripened on the inside, didn't develop quite fully.
Yeah, that was the main excuse that I saw people saying was like, oh, it's just not ripe yet. And it's like, I feel like if it wasn't ripe yet, it would still snap like when broken. But
Exactly. I don't think it becomes elastic because it's not ripe.
Yeah, some of the ones, the bananas in particular, like that's the weirdest one, where it's like stretchy.
yeah.
Like
It's
there's
so
no
weird.
circumstance where a banana should be stretchy.
Exactly.
Stretch Armstrong looking.
Exactly. And so none. I don't think that really explains your typical encounter with bad fruit. But just because it's not what I would typically expect, I don't know if it's technically out of the realm of possibility. So
this is maybe.
it's a maybe. It's a maybe for me. The other reason is, and I actually do buy into this one a little bit more, is maybe the selective breeding and hybridization of fruits. Now, this is where this isn't the GMO route. This is like you get your little plants to have a good time, and you get your new little fruits that you've kind of selected, that you have literally selectively bred. And I could see how it could go awry, leading to adverse effects or traits that you didn't quite want. But the problem with this is that the phenomenon was spread among
It's all
a
over the place.
variation of fruits.
Yeah.
So this can't be the explanation. You can't make all these modifications to all these things at the same time with selective breeding and get same results across all these
bananas, avocados, all over the place.
And I would assume, and this is a bad assumption most likely, and James, I would love your input on it, but are all of these, and we'll include blueberries in this, are all of these fruits grown in the same area?
No.
No?
Not really. Like blueberries grow in alkaline soil, and so you're going to see them in more northern areas. I mean, they are absolutely grown in Mexico, where you could get a lot of those things, bananas and avocados, but really you're dealing with like temperate alkaline crops, you're dealing with subtropical crops, you're dealing with acidic tropical crops, like it's a variety.
Okay, but if we excluded blueberries, it is mostly tropical, would you say? Or not?
I would say, yeah, subtropical.
Okay. So if we exclude the blueberry example, which I think I want to.
Yeah, the blueberry was a little bit.
It's a little weird and and very possibly easily fake. I do find that it is possible that the weather conditions and stuff like that could have affected that group, but the selective breeding doesn't work for me. And when I was doing this type up, I was thinking GMOs were kind of going to be where I ended up. Because GMOs is the manipulation of DNA by humans to create super crops, essentially, that can be more sturdy in different environments. GMOs do have a place in the world for keeping people from starving, I would argue. Even if I don't like them, and I think we should probably do our best to get rid of them. They do have a place.
They're not all bad.
In the world, somewhat. However, begrudgingly, obviously. But here's the other problem with it. It's got the same thing. How they would not have made the same error with all of these different fruits at the same time. So after I went through all of my explanations here, I started to look back through them. And you know what? I went back to post-harvest treatment.
Yeah.
And maybe during harvest treatment. I think it's very possible that pesticides in combination with things like
waxes that they spray on
they spray or other treatments they spray on these things, like this is an example. I'm not saying this is a cause, but something like a peel.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of chemicals and stuff sprayed on these things. And if they
polypropylene, that's used in the packaging for fruits and vegetables a lot.
Exactly. Like, all of these things are going to leach into it. And it could be that a specific combination caused a group of crops to fail. And it could be very possibly that it wasn't just one thing. It could have been the post and during harvest treatment in combination with a cold snap or something. Like, all these things could build into leading a wide array of crop having a similar effect.
Yeah. But
the similar effect almost leads me down a chemical path if I'm looking at it. But then again, not all fruits are going to react to a chemical in a certain way. But I think it's odd that can happen. James, I kind of want to hear your input on.
Yeah.
Do you think that three fruits, avocados, watermelon, and bananas, will react to a chemical in the same way?
It's actually pretty conceivable. Because, I mean, if you think about it, they're not that different structurally. Like, yeah, they look different, they taste different, but we're dealing with a modified plant ovary. That's what we're dealing with. You know, it's got an outer rind, it's got an inner part that's full of sugars and polyphenols. They're not that different in that respect. You know, a watermelon is basically a big, tough-rinded version of a blueberry in that respect. And I know that's a simplification, but they're similar enough to where I think they could be impacted very, very similarly from some sort of like exogenous source, like, again, propylene or something to that effect.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, and this is
let's talk for just a sec about a peel. because that's something that I find concerning.
Yeah.
So, like, what Appeal is, it's funded by the Gates Foundation, which that alone makes me worry. But what they've pretty much done is they've taken monoglycerides and diglycerides from grapeseed, and they've taken citric acid, and they've made this kind of powder that you can coat a fruit with, and it prevents it from spoiling. So it can last for weeks and weeks and weeks and not spoil, which on paper sounds awesome. Here's the issue. I mean, it's naturally derived. It makes plants last longer, fruits last longer, but you can't really remove the coating. That's one thing. So you are 100% going to be ingesting the Appeal. Like, it's not an option. And I find that very odd that that's part of the process, that you can't wash it off. You have to ingest it. The other thing that bothers me about that is the fats in question. You know, fats can have a huge impact on you depending on if they're, polyunsaturated, whether they're omega-3s or omega-6s, whether they're trans fats. We know these contain some trans fats. We know these contain omega-6s, which is normally kind of a good thing, but to some extent, omega-6s can be very inflammatory. And we also know that it does contain trace amounts of lead, cadmium, arsenic, palladium, and mercury, none of which is good. And the fact that you can't wash it off, I find very disconcerting.
It's true. And it's bothersome because they don't have to always state when they're using it on fruit, which is which is very concerning. So you have no idea if you're actually eating it or not. Like, you should wash your fruit whenever you get it, regardless. But, you're going to be eating it, and you don't know that you're eating it. You can't give that informed consent that you want to eat it. So I am not a fan of the Appeal.
Yeah, I know. You're going against it.
Yeah. I've had this discussion with Alex many times.
Many times. There's another thing that I was going to get to, but I just didn't really have the time. That's the magnet meat, CC.
Oh, yeah, the magnet meat.
This is something that you also mentioned to me, where there's this phenomenon where people are able to stick magnets on meat that are in the store.
In public, yeah.
Now, what was interesting is I didn't really get a lot of a chance to research this, so, take it with a grain of salt. But I found, while I was looking it up, that they do treat meat sometimes with magnetic waves.
Magnetic waves?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, let me tell you. So it has to do with lab-grown meat.
Oh. Oh.
But they use pulsed magnetic fields to stimulate the growth of the cells.
The cells. Oh.
Yeah. So, it might cause your meat to be a little magnetic.
I actually have, this is one that I will, and this is assuming I actually know what I'm talking about, because maybe there's something I'm not aware of, but I can kind of debunk this one. And
yes, do it.
They are absolutely finding magnetic material in meat, and they're finding magnetic material in cereals. Like, if you run a magnet over a lot of things, you will get magnetic materials.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Here's the thing, and this explains why they would want to use magnetic fields on lab-grown meat. Well, because of iron. Iron's what's magnetic. And like, when people see that, you have, I don't know, 12% of your daily recommended value of iron in Cheerios or whatever. It's iron. Like, it's literally iron. It's a nutrient. We need it. It's how our blood stays oxygenated. Meat is a good source of iron, but it is magnetic. So if you run a magnet over anything that contains iron, you can separate the iron shavings or filament out of it. So it's really not that surprising that if you run a magnet over food that has iron, that you're going to get iron.
That's... You debunked it when it comes to iron.
Well, I mean, iron's good for you as long as you don't get too much. And, more people are anemic than have too much iron. But what's funny, I think a lot of the concerns about it comes from the fact that, and I don't mean this in a disparaging way, but I think most people, they think that nutritional iron and iron, as in like metal pipes, are not the same thing, but they are. It's literally the same substance.
Eat
Your
more
blood
metal?
is red because it's got iron in it.
Man, look at James dropping the knowledge. You know what I'm about to drop?
A stinker.
No. Some more information on lab-grown meat. It's also referred to as cultured meat or cellular agriculture. But unlike traditional meat, which comes from slaughtering animals, that's what people say, oh, you can kill animals. Lab-grown meat is made without the need to raise and kill livestock. So it sounds, it's, morally superior to be eating lab-grown
So
meat.
instead of killing the animals, you're killing you.
Well, this is the thing. It sounds like science fiction to me. Like when I looked this up, I was like, what's the earliest, instance of lab-grown meat? When I think of it, I picture astronauts eating lab-grown meat in like a dystopian movie where they're terraforming another planet because everything on Earth has gone sideways, right?
Yeah.
But here on Earth, it's actually a newer concept. And I'm sure that it's been mentioned a long time ago. Like, you hear like, oh, you can drop a little water on the meat and then you get a burger. You've seen that in sci-fi movies, right?
Yeah, of course.
This.
It's a staple.
Well, can you guys guess when the first lab-grown meat was actually made for consumption?
1998.
James, what's your guess?
1988.
You guys are both wrong. It was actually 2013.
2013.
Eh.
That's what I was going to say.
Well, a guy named Dr. Mark Post, who had actually been dabbling with lab-grown meats for some time, since the early 2000s. And that's kind of when all the experiments started to happen where it's like, can we grow meat? But it was never, at first it wasn't like, oh, it's about being able to eat it and sustainability. It was just, can we do it? And then he started to enter the scene as like, hey, eventually we can maybe eat this. So he made the first lab-grown beef burger, and they called it cultured beef.
Ooh.
Makes me think of a cow with a little monocle and a little top hat. It's cultured.
Yeah, a beef of culture.
Yeah. It was cooked and eaten, though, by 2 taste testers in front of an audience. I think it happened in London. And they described the meat as bland, but did say that it did surprisingly taste a lot like real beef. This. And I'm like, how is this made? Obviously, sourcing cells. And it's usually going to be made with muscle or stem cells from an animal. And you've got, like, your chicken and your pigs and your cows. And there's lots of steps in between from the time, like, you source the cells to harvest. But it can take anywhere from 6 weeks to 3 months for the meat to grow. So for what they called simple products, like ground beef, that can take around 6 weeks to grow because it's just, a hodgepodge. But if you want something that's more structured, like a prime rib steak or something like that, it could take anywhere from 2 to 3 months.
Oh my gosh.
So the complexity comes into play. And it was first put on the market. Can you guys guess what country cultured meat or cellular agriculture was first put on the market for people to buy and eat?
I'm guessing some Scandinavian country like Sweden.
Oh, that's that was my initial. That was my initial guess, but I'm gonna guess something different.
Okay.
China.
No. Close, though. You were closer than James. It's actually Singapore. Yeah. In 2020, a company called Eat Just, I think that's what it's called, got the go-ahead, regulatory-wise, to sell its cultured chicken nuggies.
Ooh.
Under the brand name Good Meat. And this was the first time cultured meat was sold to consumers in restaurant settings. Other countries currently working toward approving or testing lab-grown meat, like the U.S. FDA is still working on the laws surrounding cultured meat. But in 2023, 2 companies, Upside Foods and Good Meat, received approval to sell their products in the U.S. Meanwhile, the EU is still assessing lab-grown meats and their safety, and they are a little bit more cautious when it comes to foods, which I really appreciate. Making sure that ingredients aren't going to harm the people that are ingesting them. I'm unsure how lab-grown meat is being handled in Australia, but that's kind of where things stand at the moment. And I actually looked up Good Meat and went to their website.
Ooh.
And they list that you can find their products for sale at a very specific market in Singapore. So it's still very limited as to where you can get it, but they have offered tastings at a restaurant in Washington, D.C. So, China Chilcano by Jose Andres. Yeah, you can go there and get it. But I don't think you can get it all the time. Like, you have to sign up for it. But it says that diners were offered a, quote, Peruvian-inspired dish of cultivated chicken marinated with antichucho sauce and served with native potatoes and a chimichurri.
Oh, yum.
Yeah, I looked up the restaurant on Google. It has 4.3 stars out of like 3,400 reviews.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the worst I've ever seen. A lot
Better
of their...
than our Popeyes that we have anywhere.
But Popeyes should just not exist. That place is disgusting.
I would rather eat good meat than raw meat from Popeyes.
Yes. But when it comes to the ingredients, that's always the first thing that I do when I am trying to assess whether I'm going to buy a piece of food, right? Per Good Meat, their chicken contains, should say their cultured chicken, because it's not real chicken.
Right. Pinky out.
Cell cultivated chicken. Yuck. Wheat gluten, soy protein concentrate, sunflower, and coconut oils, and then it contains less than 2% of modified food starch, natural flavors, salt, soy, lecithin. And I never know how to pronounce that.
Lecithin.
So, yeah, there you go, James. And when it comes to like the compositions, 90 calories, which isn't a lot of calories.
For how much?
14 grams of protein, 3 grams of fat, 3 grams of carbs, and then 60 milligrams of cholesterol. And that's for their chicken nuggies.
Okay.
I don't know.
So bad.
It doesn't sound so bad, but some of these ingredients, do give me
are a little
pause.
desirable, but I mean...
Yeah.
It's just freaky to think like, oh, they just took these stem cells from a chicken, and now they've grown my chicken nuggets,
Yeah.
you know?
Where do they take the
In
cells
a
from?
petri dish.
Is this like chicken armpit? What am I eating?
Yeah, what am I eating?
What from chicken toes?
Well, not surprisingly, there are some conspiracy theories swirling around lab-grown meat, right? The general public is still pretty skeptical. A lot of people are like us, like, ooh, what am I eating? I don't want to eat that.
Suspicious.
But then you also got your foodies who are like, pinky's out. I'm going to eat this lab-grown meat. And to be one of the, what's it called when you're like one of the first people to try something? Early adopter.
There you go.
Yeah, you're an early adopter. But, okay, first conspiracy theory. Lab-grown meat is a part of an agenda to reduce the population.
Oh, I've heard that one.
This proponents of this idea think that it's a way to control the food supply and through this synthetic meat possibly sterilize people. So the haves get the real beef while the have-nots get lab meat that has some type of chemical or component in it that's going to make all your baby-making organs not work.
I say we just give it to the vegans and we'll see what happens.
Well, Alex, oh my...
We gotta test it on somebody.
Well, this is the thing. The vegans can't eat it because it is actually made with real chicken cells, right?
Oh my god.
So
they're
it's
gonna
not...
stay insufferable.
It's
Great.
not even, Alex. It's not even for the vegans. Listen, lab-grown meat. This is the second conspiracy theory. Lab-grown meat, it's not healthy. Some people are like, it's not healthy. It's not real. You know, you aren't going to get any real nutrition from it. And some people claim that without long-term studies, it could have unforeseen health problems down the line, like cause cancer or infertility if it does cause sterilization or immune system damage.
Yeah.
Right?
This seems like this doesn't sound like conspiracy theory. This is called what we call in the science community testing.
Yeah, and this is the one that gives me pause. Because I'm like, you know, the idea sounds so noble to have lab-grown meat because everybody can have meat, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm actually eating. I can't say that I know what this is because it's not a real chicken. Some could also argue that, like, you know, you go buy chicken at the grocery store. Yeah. How do you know the quality of the chicken, right? That's why you need to get your chicken from a local farm, man.
Yeah, it could be iguana meat.
Yeah, man. Yeah. James, you get most of your meat from a local farm, don't you?
Yeah, I actually threw a chicken on Thanksgiving.
Threw it.
You
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, my nephew's chicken got out, and this was so cute and funny. Chickens, by the way, are incredibly dumb, like comically dumb little animals. I love them, but they're so dumb. And this one had gotten out and couldn't figure out how to get back in, and it's like, you can literally just fly over the fence like you showed up. Like, that's how you got out. And it couldn't figure it out. So I tried to usher it over the fence by, just getting really close to it, between it and the fence, and then trying to, like, kind of push it upward. And it was not taking the hint. And so finally, this was so cute and weird. It, just hunkered down. Like, it just hunkered down in front of me, almost as if to say, like, throw me. Like, so I picked it up and tossed it over the fence back into the little lot. And it was very happy to be reunited with the other chickens. It was funny, though.
Oh, what, did that chicken have a name?
I don't think so, but it was kind of like, imagine throwing a basketball, but the basketball makes a lot of noises while you're throwing it.
Love it.
Interesting.
Love it. You gotta get a little video of these little chickens.
I want to see you windmill dunk a chicken.
I don't want to see that. But you know what I do want to hear? I want to hear your thoughts, James, on this next conspiracy theory when it comes to lab-grown meat. Some people think that it can be used for dun 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 mind control. Mind control. Some argue that the meat could be laced with chemicals, hormones, or other nasty things that could influence people's behavior. Which I'm like, interesting.
Well, I don't think they need lab-grown meat to do that. That's not even a theory so much as it's a conspiracy fact at this point. That there are compounds in food. One of the issues with endocrine disruptors is it makes people more compliant. It's one of those things like that we're seeing across the board. All these companies are openly complaining and saying, oh, endocrine disruptors are everywhere and it's affecting things. But they don't want to address it or solve it. And I think the reason why is because it's, on one hand, you could make the argument that it's about sterilization, but you could just as easily make the argument, and I think this is the lower hanging fruit, that it's about making people more compliant. Because people who don't have a lot of sex hormones are just going to be more docile, for the exact same reason why a neutered house cat is a lot more chill than an alley Roman tomcat.
It's very interesting, James. Man, yeah, I have the same thoughts as you when it comes to that. Like, we don't have to wait for lab-grown meat. That's already kind of out there.
Yeah.
And then the last one I'll talk about, because there are other ones too. One of them was the vegan agenda. Some people say it's to push a vegan agenda, which to me doesn't make any sense because it is actually made with real animal tissue. But it's being used as a part of the Great Reset or New World Order. Some people think that this is, this is the way that the World Economic Forum is trying to promote sustainable food systems, and I say that in quotes, with alternative protein sources. And people are pointing to that as evidence of a coordinated push for a, quote, post-meat world.
Well, again, that's not even a theory at this point. I mean, it's not directly affiliated, but the Gates Foundation have actively said that they're investing in meat alternatives and lab-grown meat expressly for that purpose, expressly for the point of changing the socio-political landscape in a way that is more friendly for all the socioeconomic and climate-related changes that we must undergo.
You know who I want to listen to about health? Someone that looks like Bill Gates.
Yeah, it's very troubling. I looked up to see how many lab-grown meat kind of companies he's associated with, and it's a lot. Yeah. It's
basically all of them.
Yeah, that, and then all of the plant-based meats or plant-based, foods. But he's also, I think, if I remember correctly, he's got more farmland in the United States of America than, like, he's just buying it up left and right.
Yeah, 270,000 acres.
Yeah, and I think it's to kind of keep meat. You're going to have the haves and the have-nots. Yeah. It's very troubling.
I can't talk specifics, but I work with a lot of startups, and all the ag startups I know who deal with sort of cutting edge, including lab grown meat stuff. like all of them, their goal is ultimately to be bought out by the Gates Foundation because it's the only real forward momentum that they can have.
That's sad, but it's also how startups work.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Well, the industry experts think that within the next 5 to 10 years, lab-grown meat will be much more easily attainable in supermarkets. You can get it at restaurants because by then they're still kind of working to make the process of growing meat, sounds so gross, affordable. Still a little bit expensive. But they're also, looking to develop other types of fake foods like fake dairy, lab-grown milk and cheese, which could open up, other industries down the line. We could talk about that when it actually happens, but I don't know. I am not a fan of the idea of lab-grown meat. I think that what nature provides is what we need to kind of be concentrating on. And
Taco Bell meat.
You can pretend that that's meat, Alex. I don't know what kind of meat it is, but yeah, I'm not a fan of the lab-grown meat. They're not for me. James, I know that you're kind of talking about fake food too.
Yeah, I'm talking about, speaking of fake meat, Beyond Meat. And yeah, let's just kind of go over what Beyond Meat is. Beyond Meat is a plant-based meat, which is a flippin' oxymoron. And it's kind of everywhere now. I mean, you can't go to a restaurant really at this point, at least fast casual and fast food, without seeing a Beyond alternative. So I thought it would be fun to just sort of do a comparison between Beyond Meat and not so Beyond Meat. So what's Beyond Meat even made of? Well, it's made out of 18 main ingredients. Water. Sound good so far. Pea protein. Okay. Expeller pressed canola oil.
No.
That's a little more concerning. No. Refined coconut oil. Also concerning. Rice protein. Okay. Natural flavors. What does that mean?
No.
Mung bean protein. Okay. Methyl cellulose. Basically sawdust. Potato starch. Apple extract. Salt. Potassium chloride, a.k.a. the stuff they inject you with for lethal injection. Which, incidentally, I know that sounds like, oh my gosh, what? But eating and injecting is not the same thing. I mean, potassium chloride is sometimes used as like an alternative to salt. It has like a slight bitter flavor, so I kind of see why they would add it. Vinegar, pomegranate extract, lemon juice concentrate, sunflower lecithin, and for color, beet juice and lycopene. So tomatoes and beets for color. And let's compare that to what a not Beyond Meat burger is made of. Beef. So 18 ingredients versus 1. I think to me, that's all I really need to know in terms of like which one I would prefer. That being said, I am devil's advocate here. They don't make it with soy. They don't make it with gluten. They don't use GMOs or other bioengineered ingredients. So that actually does make it kind of better than a lot of the regular processed foods that are out there. So I will say that even though it's made with 18 ingredients, you compare that to like most of the stuff you'll get at the candy aisle or most of the stuff you'll get in the snack aisle, it's actually pretty good. I will say that.
Until RFK Jr. gets a hold of those candies.
Yeah, that's right.
Be a lot more healthier.
Oh man, I have been loving the TikToks about that, where it's like people are just hanging out, and then there's a knock at the door. Come out! I know you have Doritos. Like, oh my god, they're so funny.
So funny.
Oh man. And then the other thing I wanted to kind of talk about is because it's not for me, but I don't think that with those ingredients, I don't think that's healthy compared to just eating something that, had a pulse and lived on the earth. That being said, what I'm more concerned with is eating the bugs. Because that's been pushed so much. And here's the thing. You guys know I'm super passionate about bugs. I'm fine with eating bugs. Like, it's called entomophagy. Our ancestors did it. I'm cool with it. What concerns me, and I think I've said this before, we've all seen the movie Snowpiercer. It's almost like the elites saw that movie and said, you know what? That is a great idea. Why don't well-to-do people in a special class eat steak, and all the serfs can have crickets.
Yep.
Because there's a humiliation element to it, and it's so clear that they're pushing for it. The media is pushing for it in a very unnatural way. And here's a perfect example of that. So I went through numerous articles, and they all have, again, it's like humiliating, like cockroach milk. Is it the future of food? Maggot corn dogs. Is that the future? It's always like the grossest possible way of phrasing it. But just here's a list of NPR articles. And you can kind of see the turning point where they started getting mad. Insects get a tasty makeover. Even Neil deGrasse Tyson is now munching on bugs. I don't know why I did that with a California accent. Bugs. It's not for what's for dinner until they're tastier, maybe. The green argument for eating cicadas, plus a few recipes. Insect cuisine is all the buzz. Man, these puns alone are worth strangling somebody over. Insects may be the taste of the next generation. Here, foodie, foodie, foodie. Edible insects are on the menu. The joys and ethics of insect eating. Yeah, at the bug eating festival, kids crunch down on food of the future. Maybe it's time to swap burgers for bugs, says UN. Your ancestors probably ate insects, so it's bugging you that's true, but still, what the heck?
Until you see how much murder they all committed.
Right. And then finally, this right-wing conspiracy theory about eating bugs is about as racist as you think. Wait.
No.
So dozens of articles saying you need to eat bugs, you need to eat bugs, you need to eat bugs. And then when people start pushing back and saying we don't want to eat bugs, well, that's just downright bigoted. Your crazy theory that we want you to eat bugs. Yeah, it's infuriating. And let's talk about some of the problems with eating bugs. One, the humiliation ritual component, where what we're going to have is two classes: people who don't have to eat bugs and people who do. That's right off the bat. There's a lot of allergic reactions people can have. If you can't have shellfish, you probably shouldn't be eating bugs because there's a similarity. Bugs accumulate both parasites and what would be a good word for that? Not just pesticides, toxins, heavy metals. They accumulate things a lot quicker, and naturally they're gonna in many environments they're going to accumulate those things inherently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then there's also just the biosecurity risk, where it's like if you could damage or infect in some way a mealworm farm with something, you could really bring an economy to its knees if they're dependent on it. Then you've got bacteria that are really, really prone to infect insects that are just really bad for people. Bacillus cereus, Clostridium, Thermopalmarium. These are nothing to sneeze at. So looking at it from that perspective, and then another one that I just now thought of, people make the argument of the ethics. Well, killing a cow is bad. Well, yeah, but if you do kill a cow, you've killed one animal, a very sweet, loving, wonderful animal. I fully agree that. I think cows are wonderful, to feed a lot of people. Whereas in order to feed one person with entomophagy, you're going to have to kill like hundreds of thousands or millions. So just in terms of like, if the argument is ethical, then we've got a problem. If the argument is environmental, well, there are still issues that need to be worked out. If the argument is economic, it sounds more like economic warfare or some sort of class warfare. And if the issue is just pure health on its own, well, there's all sorts of issues that can be derived from that too. So to me, the common denominator is that the people pushing this, and the smoking gun for me is trying to gaslight people after the fact that, what are you talking about? We never said that we were pushing that, even though we have dozens of articles pushing that. Yeah. To me, it indicates that there is a malevolent element at play.
Yeah.
Bad actors are at play.
It's upsetting.
Yeah. And I would also add, yes, people did in the past eat insects. But, the reason why we have chitinase in our bodies could just as easily be the fact that we ate a lot of fungi, because chitin's also found in fungi. So that's usually the argument. The argument is, well, we found, freeze-dried caveman and he had some crickets in his belly, or well, people naturally produce chitinase, and it's like, well, that freeze-dried caveman could have been near starvation, 1, and 2, they didn't have pesticides back then, and 3, could have just been from eating mushrooms.
Wow.
Ay. Because I know that there are actually products on the market. I need to look into it to see, but I've seen people talking about how they're trying to mask cricket flour using a different name. It's like archetta, like I don't even know what it's called.
Aceta, yeah.
There you go. Yeah, aceta flour. And so if you see that, just know that you're eating cricket flour. But they're starting to use it, and it's out in the wild now. Gotta be careful. Because whenever you pick up something at a grocery store, you read that label, and you look and see. You can see. It's funny, I actually took, I had to take a nutrition class when I was pregnant with my children. For my insurance to cover my pregnancy. So I took the nutrition class, and it was very interesting because here in America, it's like, oh, you just need to take a look at how many carbs it has, how many sugars it has. That's all it really matters. So when you go shopping, just look at the label and see what it's comprised of and how it breaks down. And so I did that, and I'm like, okay, fine, I can eat whatever so long as it has X, Y, or Z. And then the company that I work for, I absolutely love the company that I work for because they do offer additional classes just to better the employees. And one of them was on nutrition. The company that I work for is an Irish company. So the nutritionist that held the training was from Europe, obviously. And everything that she said went against almost everything that I learned in the nutrition class in America. Wasn't about, meeting your food pyramid. It was how many ingredients are in this? Do I know what the ingredients are? Like, if I read them, is it a chemical that I can't understand? Or is it, something else? Pea protein or something like that. I'm like, it's so different what we're told in America versus elsewhere around the world.
Well, that's the other thing about eating bugs. Again, I'm not inherently opposed to it. But, with bugs, you're really getting direct nutrition from what they eat because it's not nearly as processed as much. And by processed, I don't mean like mechanically. I mean like by the animal. So if you eat a cow that has been fed grain, you're getting something different than if you eat a cow that is eating grass.
Yeah.
Well, here's my question. What kind of diet are these crickets getting? Are they getting fresh fruits and vegetables? Are they getting good resources? Or are they getting some kind of disgusting dog food fish flake slurry, and then I'm basically by proxy eating that?
That's where my brain would go. I would not think they would be living in nice conditions, especially with how many you would need in order to provide food for a lot of people. Because like you said, James, you kill one cow, you feed a whole bunch of people. You'd have to kill thousands and millions of bugs to feed a lot of people. So, I don't know. Feeding those crickets is going to be expensive. Oof. This is giving me a lot to think about, James.
Yeah.
Man. Alex, do you have any... What are your thoughts on the whole situation?
My thoughts are we ain't eating the bugs.
I hope not. Golly. That's another scary thing is like when you go to a grocery store, you've got to trust that the food that you're buying is what they say it is. Ay, caramba. Oh, and guess what? My youngest daughter just woke up. Here she is. Oh, she's upset about us talking about crickets and eating bugs.
It's kind of perfect timing, though.
Yeah, it is perfect timing because I think we're done here.
I think it's a wrap.
James, what are your parting thoughts?
Reject modernity. Return to the Shire.
Oh, but remember, in the past, we ate bugs, James.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Well.
Freeze-dried caveman.
Freeze-dried. Alex.
Oh. Our music is by Grant Cook. You can find us music on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, anywhere you listen to music.
Until next week, we hope that you can
Keep it strange.
Yeah.